Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, I am so excited to dive into this one with you today because we're going to unpack a universal corporate pain point. Like, seriously, almost every professional on the planet has felt this, but somehow we just keep falling right back into the trap. We're going to look at some wild insights on modern work culture and really break down exactly why our calendars are totally bursting at the seams, while our actual to-do lists just sit there completely frozen. I want you to let this question really sink in for a second. Have you ever spent 8 straight hours at work, rushing from room to room, call to call, only to log off and realize you didn't actually do any work? Man, it is an incredibly frustrating feeling, right? You have this fully booked day, you are physically and mentally exhausted, and yet your actual output for the day is literally zero. Well, today, we're going to explore exactly why this happens, and more importantly, how we can break free from it. Section 1, the meeting marathon. Okay, let's dive into this. And just look at the sheer velocity of this schedule. Let's walk through this timeline together. You start with the morning stand-up. Okay, great, everyone's aligned. But immediately, boom, you jump right into a status update meeting, followed back-to-back by steering committee session. You barely have time to grab a coffee before the donor check-in. Then comes the risk review, and oh wait, don't forget those 5-minute quick syncs squeezed into the margins of your calendar just to keep things moving. By 5 p.m., you've essentially become a full-time meeting coordinator, bouncing like a pinball from one conversation to the next. You're absolutely breathless, you are totally exhausted. And then the day ends. And someone, maybe a stakeholder, or maybe just that quiet little voice in your own head, asks this ultimate, sobering question. So, what progress did we actually make today? Silence. You look back at the blur of the last 8 hours, and the room falls completely silent. Because, the painful reality is that despite all that talking, despite all the shared screens and calendar invites, absolutely nothing actually moved forward. The project is in the exact same place it was at 8 a.m. Section 2, the productivity illusion. So, why do companies fall into this trap? Why is the default reaction to every single challenge to just, schedule another meeting? So the crucial point is what the author of our source text calls meeting addiction. It's this fatal flaw of confusing communication with actual progress. Somewhere along the line, organizations developed this totally false belief that a packed calendar equals productivity. Think about it in everyday terms, right? It's like confusing checking your bank app 10 times a day with actually earning money, or constantly opening the weather app and thinking you're somehow preparing for the rain without ever bothering to put on a jacket. We've substituted the discussion of the thing for the actual doing of the thing. If we apply this corporate habit to everyday reality, the contrast is kind of hilarious but also deeply tragic. Imagine planning a road trip, sitting in the driver's seat and just staring at a map with your family for 8 straight hours without ever turning the key and starting the car. I mean, you're communicating perfectly, you know all the routes, but you are literally going nowhere. Or, hey, imagine standing in your kitchen reading a cake recipe out loud to your friends all day long and then wondering why there isn't a cake in the oven at 5 p.m. That is exactly what 8 hours of status meetings is. We are reading the recipe, but nobody is baking the cake. Section 3, real project management. Let's shift our focus away from this administrative drudgery for a second. Let's get back to what project managers, and really all functional leaders, are actually hired to do. The source material gives us this really stark contrast. On one hand, we've got the drudgery, scheduling, prepping agendas, taking notes, and endlessly repeating the exact same updates to different stakeholders. Nobody entered their profession to do this stuff. But on the other hand, we have the true purpose: solving problems, removing barriers, managing risks, and actually delivering meaningful results. That is high-value deep work. But here's the catch. You literally cannot do the work on the right if you are buried in the tasks on the left. So how do we fix it? Well, as the text points out, projects do not move forward just because people discuss them endlessly. And this brilliantly illustrates how they actually do move forward, based on 3 core principles. Decisions are made, ownership is completely clear, and this is the absolute most critical one: teams have the actual space to execute. Going back to our everyday analogies, you don't get in shape by sitting in a conference room discussing the benefits of a gym membership with a committee. You get in shape by putting on your shoes, stepping onto the treadmill, and having the uninterrupted time to actually run. Space to execute is oxygen for any project. Section 4, how effective teams work. Now, the good news is there is an antidote to this calendar chaos. And honestly, it doesn't require any expensive software or complex methodologies. The most effective teams rely on these 4 fundamental practices. Number 1, trust.
They trust their colleagues to do the work without needing constant visual confirmation over a video call. Number 2, clear reporting systems. Information flows automatically without needing a 1-hour meeting just to extract it. Number 3, transparent workflows. Everyone can see the status of the project at a glance on a shared board or document. And number 4, timely decision-making. They don't wait for a bi-weekly steering committee to make a call. They make it, assign ownership, and get right back to work. Their focus is emphatically not on talking about work, it is entirely on getting work done.
Section 5, breaking the meeting addiction. As we bring this explainer toward its conclusion, we really have to look in the mirror and challenge our default settings. We have to break the addiction. The most effective teams I have seen often hold fewer meetings. This quote right here from our source material is the ultimate paradigm shift. We've been so conditioned to look at an empty spot on our calendar with anxiety, thinking we aren't doing enough. But an empty calendar isn't a lack of communication. An empty calendar is a canvas for execution. It's an indicator of strong team trust and incredibly efficient workflows. It means the recipe has been read, the car is turned on, and people are finally getting to work. So I want to leave you with this final, really provocative thought directly from the text. Look closely at your own team, your own projects, and your own daily frustration. Is your biggest challenge really poor execution? Or is it an addiction to meetings? Let that sink in. Challenge yourself to cancel just one status meeting this week and replace it with space to execute. You might be shocked at how much progress you actually make. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, I hope this helps you reclaim your calendar.